Hey everyone, and welcome back to the news. It is another absolutely action-packed week, and if I look a bit flustered, it's because Northern Ireland right now is basically Mediterranean, so that's fun. Now we've got loads of beta developments, and there's actually stuff that you can play in the game right now, so yep, we're actually covering something of relevance and value in the news. Now, today's news is brought to you by you. It's the last day of June, and that means there's only a few hours left to be included in this month's Master Tier on Patreon, where that's where the June poster is, so it's the last chance to get that. And over there, I'm also getting some new vlogs made with my new vlogging rig. So that's pretty cool. You can check that out below. Now we're going to kick off today's news with game stuff first, and I'm going to talk about Teldrassil later, but there will be a little timecode thing so that you can skip. Okay. Private server shenanigans. Not really, but the PvP server has opened up on the beta. Basically, with every beta, there's a 120 PvP server, like a max level one, and it's great for doing class content and generally just getting a look at the new gear that's going to come in the expansion. So that's pretty awesome, and also the Duelers Guild is there. It's a new feature, it's kind of small, but it's quite lovely. You can queue for 1v1 content in the same way that you queue for a Brawlers Guild. Now, when a player wins the duel, then the other player's booted out and a new player comes in, so you can rack up like a big win streak for achievements and a new title, which is Contender. So that's pretty awesome. Okay, let's hop onto something kind of interesting. There might be a new WoW bundle. This is kind of weird, and it's basically a bit of the shop UI that was data mined. It's for 180 days of WoW game time, plus a mystery. It's almost as if they put it there to tease us. Now, of course, locking players in for that amount of time, 180 days, fantastic for Blizzard. The idea is that you make the purchase decision when you are hyped for the game. Almost, that's certainly something that won't be constant for 4 months, but, they lock you in. Now, as for the extra reward, who knows what that will be? But I do think this would be something that's extremely profitable for them if the reward is good. I remember digging into the numerical success of the WoW annual pass when I did my MOP retrospective, and it did always seem sort of strange to me that they didn't really continue that moving forward. But it is time to talk about unlimited power, because the final segment of the 7.3.5 questing has finally unlocked in the live servers. This questline follows the death of our artifacts, and it's got some super interesting effects. Completing the quest powers up your artifact to level 126, which is 75 ranks of concordance. This is going to be a massive power jump for many, and it doesn't even end there. This power increase is going to keep on going until the pre-patch comes out. So far, it looks like we get a level of concordance every 2 days, so assuming it's 18 days to pre-patch, that puts us at about concordance level 84 by the end, which is pretty mad, but who knows, that rate could increase over time. Of course, the pre-patch fully marks the end of our artifacts. While they will have a pretty fun twilight, the power eventually overwhelms them, leading to the 8.0 version of them where all traits are disabled and the artifact essentially is a big shiny stat stick. What does this really mean? Well, it means my friends, is smash time. This is a big jump in power, and it also coincides with the mage towers being permanently active. This basically means the buildings will still be built and destroyed, but the NPC will be up 100% of the time. Now, the mage towers were initially balanced for 50 artifact levels and item level 910. Now, it is true that's maybe item level 900 to 910 that includes good stats and sets, but if you're 920 or 930 from Argus Quest gear, souped up artifact, you'll be able to do them as long as you learn the mechanics. As for me, well, I'm in the middle of my BFA class review series, so I'm really worried I'm not going to have the time to do the stuff that I want to do, but at the end of the day, the channel's got to come first, over me running around with a fancy flail. Now, this, of course, impacts other content. Completion rates for Mythic Argus have actually spiked up, as reported by Wowhead and Raider.io. So I imagine this is only going to continue as more guilds are emboldened by this change. So yeah, there you go. Legion, it is definitely going out with a bang. But let's talk about the pre-patch. So, okay, some spoiler-free notes first. It's just hit the background downloader. It means we're 2 to 3 weeks off, probably. Many are predicting the 17th of July, and that seems super reasonable to me. Now, we found out a bit about the content, so let's get into that. The Darkshore campaign, that is going to play out over around a week and a half, according to Ian. There's probably 25 minutes of quest content there, plus the world quest, which will be repeatable. Now, the second half of the Darkshore campaign, that's going to include the cinematic, and I assume that'll properly let us know what's going on with the Burning of Teldrassil, but we'll cover that a bit later. As for the world quests, well, they've got catch-up gear. Ian said that they don't actually have a level-boosting mechanic planned, similar to how the Burning Legion invasions could be used to get characters up super quick in the pre-patch. That's kind of disappointing. No one cares about new world quests that are just a repeat of mechanics from a 25-minute quest line. I suppose I can understand why it's not worth their time. Legion had a lot to prove. Players abandoned WoW a lot over WoD, so having a fast leveling system was a good move. It got people up to speed, it drummed up interest. With BFA, I suppose there was less pressure to put a massive amount of work into that element of the pre-patch. Now, we're currently not sure if low-level characters can do the world quests that we know are going to be there, but I wouldn't hold out hope, so if you are interested in leveling, yeah, now probably is the time to do that. Now, as for Lordaeron, well, the battle for Lordaeron is going to be active around a week before the expansion launches, but it will only be doable by people who've purchased the expansion. So if you have not purchased BFA, you will be able to do Darkshore, but you won't be able to do Lordaeron. Now, the pre-patch will also mark the end of the Mage Tower ahead of the curve, Cutting Edge, the current Brawlers Guild season, the Elite PvP stuff, the Mythic Trial of Valor title, a bunch of stuff like that. So there's definitely plenty to be getting on with in the next 2 to 3 weeks. And now it's time for what I'm sure many of you have been waiting for, the Burning of Teldrassil. Yep, here we go. The full quest line is in. Of course, the cinematic is missing. It's going to be unveiled during the pre-patch, but where we last left off, the Alliance had fallen back behind their wisp wall and Saurfang had hatched a plan to go through Fellwood to disorient the wisps. Before the battle starts, remember, Sylvanas stated that her intention is to occupy the city, kill Alliance leaders, get control over the flow of Azerite and the continent. Now, on the Alliance side, we rally the troops in Darnassus, while the Horde player makes their way to Lordaeron. So the battle for Lordaeron kicks off on both sides, but it's clear the Alliance are fighting a losing battle. They just don't have the numbers. Malfurion knows that Sylvanas wants to face him. She wants to 1v1 him, but he still calculates fighting her is the best course of action, even though his death he knows would be catastrophic. So, just as the battle for Lordaeron kicks off, Malfurion flies off. Now, later on during the battle, Saurfang realizes that Sylvanas is kind of AWOL, so he leaves to find her. Now, on the Alliance side, they notice the same thing, and they also head off to find out what has happened to the two leaders. So we come upon Malfurion and Sylvanas in battle. He seems to have her absolutely beat. Now, remember, canonically, he is extremely powerful, so Sylvanas, she probably could pull a dirty trick to get back on her feet, but it does not look good for her. Realizing that his war chief could very likely kick the bucket, Saurfang runs out from the forest and throws his axe at Malfurion from behind, gravely wounding him. He immediately regrets this. Saurfang, he's as honorable as ever, but as we may see soon, it's kind of a limited honor. But this is what happens.
Blow. I regret it.
Regret nothing. You did well.
It was not my place to interfere.
My victory was inevitable. He was merely wasting my time. Finish him and be done with it. Take a moment if you like. Then take his head. Meet me at the World Tree.
You have led your horde in service of death. You will regret this day.
Malfurion, no! You did not kill him, Orc. Why?
I struck without honor. I did not deserve to end him.
This entire war is without honor! How dare you spill so much innocent blood for nothing!
Not for nothing. We spill blood so that the Horde will endure.
Because you spared Malfurion, I will offer you a choice. Attempt to stop me from taking him away and die, or remain there kneeling in the dirt and live.
You have a choice as well. Take him to Darnassus and both of you will fall when we conquer it. Or flee somewhere far from here, so that you both survive.
Now, this is such a strange scene to get into. So first, it does call out Saurfang. The old orc rattles on about honor to the Horde and all that, but it's clearly kind of narcissistic. It's like he wants to be known as this honorable orc. He wants other people to think that about him. Now, there's this concept called the narcissistic self-wound. If you want to do some extra reading, I think that would be really worth looking into. But what he means is that he, in reality, I guess he's got a very limited sense of honor, and that's something that Tyrande tries to point out. He's not thinking about the big picture, and he's more concerned with acting honorably rather than acting good. I suppose the core of it is, is serving honorably in one's actions an honorable thing if it's in service of a campaign that broadly is dishonorable? After all, this is a surprise attack without a declaration of war. Now, that is my view of Sylvanas, or of Saurfang now, but the Saurfang that he will go on to be is different. Those who know his actions at the Battle for Lordaeron, I think it's pretty obvious he started to think about the world in different terms, and I do wonder if Tyrande's words here are kind of what sparked that off. Now, as for Tyrande and Malfurion, well, the poor guy just can't catch a break. His failures have been really relevant to the plot lately, which means we're just always saving his ass. It makes him feel like a bit of a limp character. As for Tyrande, well, man, back in Legion, she focused on doing what was right overall, which was defeating Ysera over saving her beloved. Now, well, she knows the soldiers in Nordanel are being wiped out. She knows the city's going to fall. So she just declares, yep, the war's over, and she decides to hearth out, abandoning her people and telling you to oversee the occupation. I honestly think this is a blind spot in the script, and it doesn't seem like they've really thought of what players' perceptions of this will be. Now, as for Sylvanas, well, damn, she acts even more strangely. Remember, her entire goal here, her stated goal, is to take the city with minimum civilian casualties by killing Malfurion, which would be a crushing blow to morale. This is important because a swift end to the battle also means less, fewer losses on the Horde side. So what does she do? Well, she walks past Malfurion and tells Saurfang to finish him. Now, she's got to know that Saurfang won't do that. This is such a strange move for her to make, especially when in Before the Storm she is completely ruthless, ready to kill absolutely without hesitation. Oh man, so the Alliance player heads to do Darnassus, and the Horde player links up with Sylvanas on the shore. And when the Horde player talks to Sylvanas, the dialogue, it still mentions capturing the city, and that's really important because it fades to black on both sides, and when we return, the city is in flames. The Horde players watch from afar while the Alliance players try to save just a few lives before they're forced to leave with the only, the lost civilians and the priestesses who stayed behind, sort of going down with the ship. So what happens in the cinematic? Well, it's previously established that the Alliance army is on its way. Now, Gen is in Darnassus at the end of the Alliance questline, so we can assume that Gen arrives in the cinematic. So, the Horde army is lined up on the shore, and then supposedly the main Alliance army, I assume led by Gen, it arrives. So, we know what Gen feels about Sylvanas, and I predict it's just an absolute bloodbath, but that the Horde eventually win, but are forced to use too much force, leading to the burning of the city. Now, it's fun to think that Tentacle Madness is happening, or Rathian has a camping accident, but overall, I think that's more likely. So with this, I think it's okay. I'm a bit let down by the character interactions, to be honest, but I've got no doubt the cinematic team will nail it. No matter how shaky or thin the in-game storytelling is, the cinematic guys always manage to knock it out of the park and create a really epic moment. I'll be extra excited if we see split perspectives between the factions. That could really kick off the full-scale faction war with a bang, giving both sides a reason to blame each other for the escalation at Teldrassil. As for the story itself, well, I would have rather had Sylvanas kill Malfurion. I know that's extreme, but I would have had that happen, and then the Horde occupy Darnassus, as Sylvanas planned, but for the Night Elves to return to their more ruthless Warcraft 3 roots and burn the damn tree down, trapping the Horde army there. This would have been a decently clever military tactic, but it would have been extreme to the point of the Alliance not exactly looking or feeling good about it, burning hundreds or thousands alive of the enemy army. Malfurion as a character, he's been the equivalent of just a soggy piece of toast lately. Once noble, rigid, tasty even, but now he's just a limp, soggy embarrassment of a man. Once, of course, he does survive in the main timeline. I just hope Blizzard give him something interesting to do because he was a really epic character, and right now we're just kind of saving his ass all the time. And I just hope this is a turning point with him, and just broadly with the Night Elves. I miss how the Night Elves were in Warcraft 3. Blizzard, come on, they were way cooler than how you portray them in the game now, so maybe think about that. So there you go, the Burning of Teldrassil, souped up artifacts, and a pre-patch that is almost here. Battle for Azeroth is getting tangibly close, and to be honest, my excitement is really starting to build. I'm actually really glad that I've toned back on doing non-class-based testing stuff in the beta. I've kind of stopped doing the story stuff, because I really want that exciting day one feeling for BFA, and I think I've managed to preserve that. So yeah, I'm actually pretty damn hyped, and it's that time where it's all coming together, and the wait is rather excruciating. So that's it for today, and it is the last chance to get the June Patreon poster for the Master Tier. These are so damn awesome, and I've also got a few vlogs on the way. I just need to get some time to edit them. I got a little bit sidetracked building a new editing rig and sorting out some production issues on our end for the Class Review series. But yeah, you can check all this stuff out on the Patreon. Massive thanks to them for supporting the channel, and massive thanks to you for watching this video. And with all that, I will see you later.